All right, we are live on the internets. So we're about to go live on Alpha Geek Radio. Alpha Geek Radio. Put this there. And stand by. Okay, as soon as this goes, I'm going to start the intro. So I suppose you can't turn down your mic, can you?
Not easily. No, I'd have to get up and walk around the table and turn it down.
I can turn you down, so I'll do that. Let's go. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Alpha Geek Radio.
The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
This Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
This could be the beginning of the end of the human race. Human beings cower before the onslaught of these unearthly enemies.
It's Thursday, November 19th, 2015. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 165, a production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson, and we're almost back at full strength. Almost. Anessa is here. Brad is out sick. I heard him earlier. He sounds terrible.
Yes, he's got a horrible cough, and his voice is not very strong. Like when I came home and he said something, I'm like, I'm sorry, what? it's a little on the laryngitis-y side of things.
It's frustrating having that kind of cough and that kind of cold and having that voice.
Oh, I know.
Does he have the uncontrollable cough thing?
Yeah.
That's what I had.
He was coughing last night, and like it was to the point to where he gagged.
Okay. He's just tell him he's got about 3 weeks worth.
Oh man. Well, I had one of the instructors that I work with, she ended up getting a cold, and her cough lasted, like a good 2-3 weeks before it finally went away. And I don't think it's completely gone.
No, it sticks around. It lingers a little bit. Like once in a while, it'll crop back up again, and you're like, oh,
I know. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, Alex got sick earlier this week. Brad's sick. I'm probably going to get sick. So I've been drinking orange juice each morning and, eating my vegetables and trying to avoid getting sick.
Well, okay. Look at it this way, Anessa. Just take a lesson from his illness, right? You look at what he did wrong and don't make those kind of mistakes.
Well, he also spends, like at night, he'll read to Alex. So he's laying there in bed and they're with their book and they're reading. And so he's right next to Alex. And Alex is very much a kid who doesn't always cover his mouth when he sneezes and coughs. Mm-hmm. So that kind of has a lot to do with it too. But yeah, like the other day, Alex wanted to sniff my hair because he has a thing for hair, and we've gotten to where he has to ask. And so he walks up to me and he goes, "Hair, please." And you just snotty nose. I'm like, "Can you go blow your nose?" I would like that not to be in my hair.
Well, let's cross our fingers for you, Anessa, and let's all say good luck to Brad. Hopefully
I survived sitting next to a sick instructor for a while. I don't know how much longer my body can hold out.
Well, just keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully you'll get out of this alive. Let's talk about aliens. That's why we're all here. That's why the two of us are here, and the listeners are here. And I have a dog barking upstairs. Pardon. The show
is that why he's here?
This is the show where we talk about beings from elsewhere in the galaxy and their appearance in film, TV, video game, comic books, science, and real life. And I should say, not just the galaxy, but the universe, the multiverse, other dimensions, anything that's not of this earth. We talk about them and all the different places they may be. The show is divided, sectioned off into 3 areas: the news, the sightings feature, and our picks for the week. If you want to watch us do the show, record it in all its ugliness without all the production involved, like when we have technical difficulties and I have to run upstairs and tell the dog to shut up or things like that. That's the kind of thing that you get to watch if you watch us live, either at our website, gncasts.com, or at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/galacticnetcasts. You can watch us live or watch the archived video later on.
Yeah,
So without further ado,
even
what's that?
I said, and once in a while, I will crochet.
That's fine too. What are you working on these days?
I just finished up a small blanket for Brad's brother, and I just started one for Brad's mother. I don't know if I'll be able to finish that one by Christmas, but I'm certainly going to give it a try.
Stephanie's working on a blanket right now, and I think she's going to get through this one this time. She her last project was a little bit too much to handle, so she never finished it, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be able to finish the blanket this time.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, and that's crochet talk. Let's talk about aliens, shall we? Oh, hang on, that's the wrong thing. Here we go.
In the news.
Okay, so the Prometheus sequel drama continues. You weren't here last week, but we had a story about Prometheus and the sequel, and this week is no exception. We've got new news. It now has a new name. At first, it was like Prometheus 2 or Prometheus whatever, but then it went to Prometheus. Alien Paradise something. I forget. Anyways, it is now called. Where is it?
Is it Alien Covenant?
Yes, Alien Covenant, and it's rumored to have 2 monsters, not one, but 2 monsters.
Bum bum bum.
The website Sci-Fi has been told by a source that the Ridley Scott film, which has the new title, Alien Covenant, and it turns out that's the name of the ship involved in it, will feature 2 monsters. One of them will be new, though, but will have similarities to the classic xenomorph from the Alien films. The new monster will be created from an event, and it's hinted that David, the Michael Fassbender character, plays a part in its creation. It'll be transparent like a jellyfish to a degree, and partially based on the Ultramorph, an enormous xenomorph that an engineer gives birth to in an early Prometheus draft. So it's something that might have been, or it could have been on the original movie Prometheus, but wasn't. Their source doesn't provide any information on the second monster, though. It would make sense for it to be the Deacon, which was the creature that emerged from the chest of the engineer at the very end of Prometheus. Okay. So that's the 2 monsters and the new name. 20th Century Fox also released the official synopsis for the film. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Bound. I'll try to do it in my best deep radio / movie trailer voice.
In a world.
Okay. In a world. Bound for a remote planet on the far side of the galaxy. Oh, that's too deep.
It's getting into creepy status.
The crew of the colony ship Covenant discovers what they think is an uncharted paradise, but is actually a dark, dangerous world whose sole inhabitant is the synthetic David, played by Michael Fassbender, survivor of the doomed Prometheus expedition. Did you notice something that's missing from that description?
Miss Rapace?
Yes. Noomi Rapace is not there. Her character, Elizabeth Shaw, is not mentioned. So where the hell is she? Nobody knows. Maybe it's just not. Maybe she's just not mentioned. Maybe she's dead. Who knows? I have not heard anything about if they got her back for this sequel or not. But we will find out eventually, I guess, sooner than later, because I believe they start filming in the spring, because Alien Covenant has a release date of October 6th, 2017.
Oh my word.
Thoughts, discuss. What do you think of this, Anessa? This description and the two monsters.
It'd be interesting to see the monsters. I'm kind of curious what they look like. And that makes me think of a story that I came across earlier today. And you can actually purchase like a xenomorph egg thing, like the face hugger hatches out of.
Yeah, I
For
saw
like-
that. That's
for like
great.
$500 almost, 600. I forget how much it is. It's
Oh,
ridiculous.
that's different. I saw something. I think I saw face hugging something, but I don't think it was that.
Yeah, it was, and they had a video kind of zooming in and out of the shell, and then they had the face hugger and stuff. But like, man, that's really expensive. But I mean, it looked like it was a fairly nice size, so I guess if it's handmade and it's large, then it would be worth it. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting.
You know what would be cool if somebody came up with like a moving xenomorph from the original, like the original Alien when it was small,
Mhm.
when it escaped the chest and started running off. That could freak some people out if you
Oh,
have one of
yeah.
them like, running around your house, like some kind of drone or some kind of remote control thing.
Yeah, that
That's
would
what
that would be creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it says, that one of the monsters would end up being like transparent like a jellyfish. I think that'd be, well, one, it would be creepy, but I think it'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
To me, it would up the creep factor
To see the insides.
to see the inside, but it also, in a way, gives the human an advantage in being able to kind of sort of, because it sounds like it's somewhat transparent, but not very. But you could be like, oh, like I'm gonna try to stab it in this dark blob here. Maybe that's the heart, or
Oh yeah.
maybe they'd have like an unfair advantage. Well, maybe not unfair, but more of an advantage that way. In battling this semi-transparent, enormous monster thing.
You're thinking like a survivor, Anessa.
I
It's
try.
you're the person that's there, that's trying to escape the xenomorph.
Yeah. I mean, it would at least give you an idea of where not to hit, like, oh, that's just transparent. There's not any dark, although I guess, what if the other organs and stuff are somewhat transparent? Then it gets really difficult to tell.
Yeah. That means everything would have to be like the blood, the
Yeah. Although I think they would make the blood somewhat visible because it would kind of up the ick factor if you see like all the little veins and stuff running through the throughout the body and through the arms and head and whatnot. So
Are you listening, 20th Century Fox? We got some great ideas here.
yes.
Okay, so what do you think of this description?
I don't know, like I think of episodes of things that I've seen, or maybe like movies where things are like, oh, this is a great place, and then there's some psycho serial killer lurking behind, so it's kind of predictable. It kind of follows the formula.
I was thinking that too. It sounds like a very standard sci-fi film.
Yeah, it's whether it's sci-fi or it's a horror film or you're watching a TV crime show, you have this circumstance where you go in and everything's peachy keen, and then suddenly everything just takes a turn for the worse. And it sounds very much like this is what this movie is going to be, which kind of makes me sad. But I'm not quite sure what I was expecting. I was just hoping it wouldn't be like a standard formula.
Well, this is just a bare bones kind of synopsis, so there may be more to it than we know.
I'm sure, and I'm hoping anyway that there will be like more twists and turns that you didn't really expect to see. But yeah, like right off the bat, it just sounds like every other horror flick, like kids go camping in the woods and there's a serial killer, or guy goes fishing on the lake and there's this lake monster.
This is one of those great stories where both us and the podcast of terror could talk about this. They could theoretically talk about Alien and still stay within their guidelines of their podcast.
Yeah.
All right, let's move
I
on.
agree.
I'm looking forward to the new, well, not Prometheus anymore, the new Alien prequel. So that again, that's coming out October 6th, 2017.
Now, I will
Okay.
say that I do like that they changed it from like a Prometheus-based title to Alien,
Yeah.
because I think that'll help reduce the confusion. Or if people really hated Prometheus, then maybe they won't think about it whenever they see Alien Covenant. They'll be like, "Oh, that's another Alien movie. I'm totally gonna go see that."
Yeah, I think it was a good decision too. It was probably 20th Century Fox that made that decision. Plus, the whole franchise thing that is popular these days. You have to have a franchise in order to be a success. So it ties into the Alien franchise. It's actually a new franchise of the original franchise.
Yeah, it's weird, but whatever. We'll go with it.
Yeah. All right, Nina. So what do you got for your news story?
Well, U.S. astronaut Scott Kelly, who's been hanging out in space for a number of days, 236 plus, shared a picture captioning it, Day 233, Once Upon a Star over southern India. Hashtag good night from space station. And in the photograph that he posted, you've got, of course, Earth down below, and it's nighttime, so you see like the city lights and whatnot, which is always really cool. And then in the far upper right-hand corner, you see a light that connects to another light. And a lot of people are saying that this image that he tweeted was his subtle way of saying that there are extraterrestrial beings hanging out over the earth, without actually saying, hey, look, there's a UFO. So YouTube channel person Sonoma Barker posted a video discussing the possibility that the UFO or the photo captured of alien craft flying across the sky. And he says, last night aboard the space station, astronaut Scott Kelly tweeted this photo. It appears to be very large and constructed. I would find it hard to believe that Scott Kelly did not notice this whenever he tweeted this out. It really sticks out like a sore thumb. Scott Kelly, thank you for sending this photo down to Earth. Hardly a week goes by without someone from the ISS sending a photo or video that really is quite strange, and it is left for us to decide. And then, surprise, surprise, Scott C. Waring has chimed in on this as well. And he's the editor of UFOsightingsdaily.com, and he tells the Express, when an astronaut tweets a photo of UFO, you can bet people notice it. The UFO is about 25 meters long and 150 to 200 meters away. It looks like Scott Waring was trying to hint at the existence of aliens. Message received, Scott, and thanks. However, other space enthusiasts argue that the object may simply be part of the ISS projecting out in front of the camera lens. As usual, NASA will not comment on individual cases.
I saw the picture a couple days ago, I think, and I thought it was something just from the space station.
That was my guess, that it was part of the ISS, because I mean that thing's pretty large.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it as anything else. Either that, or it could have been a satellite flying by, and it like flashes periodically.
Could be a lot of things.
They don't really flash. They're like a star moving across the sky.
Yeah, I don't think they have lights.
No, it's like it's light being reflected from the sun, and it's always fun to, whenever you're stargazing, to keep an eye out for satellites, because you'll see what looks to be a star, but then you notice that it's moving really slowly across the night sky, and you're like, oh, it's a satellite. And back when I used to work for an observatory, we used to have people that would come out with a list that they would get from, I think, spaceweather.com of just the rise and set times of satellites and which direction they would be coming from. And they would just go out there and like watch for satellites. So I thought that was kind of cool of them to do. Excuse me. But yeah, I saw the image and I just kind of figured it was maybe a part of the ISS or something, light being reflected from like the ISS. Because, you know, they're out in space and can probably see the sun a little longer than we can.
I'm pretty sure that nothing. Unless, I'm not going to be convinced unless I see that it's obviously an extraterrestrial craft just floating there with heads that you can see through the portholes waving at the ISS. Then
Right.
Something extraterrestrial.
I would need for this little blip in the upper right hand corner to be front and center of the image in order to determine whether or not, hey, it's something that, you know, is not part of the ISS. Maybe it's, you know, something else. Could it be space junk? Could it be extraterrestrial? You know? But yeah, I really think it's just a part of the International Space Station. That's my opinion, but you know, I could be wrong.
This reminds me of all those Mars pictures that people
It does, but I thought it was kind of cool anyway, because then you get to you get to see Earth at night, and you've got kind of a glow. You see like the atmosphere. I assume it's probably from like light pollution down below, but it's like this nice little yellow cover over Earth, and it's pretty cool looking. I really like it. But yeah, I don't know. I would like for people to take a look at the picture and let me know what they think. Like, do you think it's alien related? Do you think it's a part of the International Space Station? Do you think it's some weird artifact from the camera? Or maybe it's a reflection off the window?
We'll post the picture in the show notes, at least the link. And then you can check it out for yourself. And please, if you think it's something, if you think we're crazy, if you think it's an actual UFO, or obviously it's a UFO, but if you think it's an extraterrestrial craft, let us know by sending us an email, galacticnetcasts@gmail.com, or you can call our voicemail number. That is 805-328-3966. There's a third option, too. You can always jump on to our website, gncasts.com, and go to the blog page. We have a comment section that nobody hardly ever uses. I'd love to see some comments on the website. Everything that we publish has a comment section, so go ahead and comment away as long as it's, you know, within reason, don't get all rude about it. So, yeah, check it out on the website or do the email or voicemail. Let us know if you think that is an extraterrestrial craft or lights or some kind of thing from the International Space Station. Have we come to a satisfying conclusion to that story?
Yes, I am satisfied. We shall continue.
Okay. How about this? Sticking with NASA developing chemical laptop to aid search for alien life. How about them apples?
I love apples.
Yeah, maybe they'll find apples on a planet using this. Although you wouldn't really need a device to figure out that something's an apple, right?
Well, I mean, if it's a space apple, you never know. It might have a slightly different shape than a regular apple.
Yeah, that's true. Engineers are working on a portable, miniaturized laboratory that can help astronauts analyze samples for presence of life on the spot as they explore extraterrestrial worlds. This instrument would be the first to be able to look for both amino acids and fatty acids, the building blocks of life, said Jessica Creamer, Creamer. I think that's how you pronounce it. NASA postdoctoral fellow based at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Both are essential to life, but can also be found in non-life sources, and the chemical laptop will be able to tell the difference. It's roughly the size of a regular computing laptop, but much thicker to make room for chemical analysis components inside, But unlike the tricorder seen in Star Trek, it has to ingest a sample to analyze it. You can't just point it at something and figure out and get the components of whatever it is you're trying to analyze.
Right.
It's basically like a laboratory, right?
Yeah.
Put the stuff in the drawer, close it. Maybe it'll be like the DVD compartment on a laptop. Pop it open, put the sample in, close it. It makes all the noise. It analyzes, and it spits out an answer. Tells you what it is.
Yeah.
This could be an especially useful tool for icy world targets such as Enceladus and Europa. All you'd need to do is melt a little bit of the ice, and you'd sample it and analyze it directly, Creamer explained. Man, the stuff that's happening these days in science, Anessa.
It's amazing.
Science.
And
there was more in this article. They talked about its uses for like terrestrial uses. Like you could use it here on planet Earth. And I didn't include that part, but if you'd like to read it, dear listeners, you can check it out by linking up or clicking on the link in the show notes that we'll have. And when we say show notes, it's very, very easy. It's the stuff that's in your podcast app, or if you're listening like via the website, it's just the stuff. Or I guess on the website it would be above the player. But like if you were to use like the Apple Podcast app, it would be the stuff. I forget how you get to the show notes, but it's one of the options that you can read more about the podcast, and the links are all there. So you can actually touch them on your iPhone or whatever device you're using, and that will take you to the links that we talk about. That's the show notes that we talk about every week.
cool.
Wanted to clarify that because some people, don't really necessarily know what we're talking about when we say show notes.
That is very true.
Are you pretty amazed by this? Are you shocked, or does this sound like something that makes sense that we'd be to this point where this is something that we can develop?
Little bit of both, I guess. Because if they can create not really a gun, but a device that you can take out into the field and say, I don't know what this rock is, and you point it at it, and it's like, hey, this is what this rock is made of. And you're like, oh, great, that's rhyolite. Awesome. Yeah, like I think it's cool that they've been able to kind of transform it from on like harder materials to like smaller materials, like less of a mass of,
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think that's really awesome, and it's both amazing and somewhat expected at this point in time, if not now, then in the very near future, I would think. But yeah, I think it's great that they've come out with this, and it's something that they can use, outside of Earth, and they could probably find use for it here on Earth as well.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure there's places in the world that we don't know everything about.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, taking it down to Antarctica or some remote place in the desert or wherever you happen to be down in the darkest depths of the ocean.
And that would be a good place to like test it too. And there was another part of the article that talked about that they're going to take it up to, what's that place in South America, that desert that's really high up? And
is it the Atacama Desert?
I don't know. But they're taking it there to test it.
Yeah, I think it's the Atacama Desert in Chile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be a great proving ground, a great testing ground before they take it.
It's a great testing ground for everything NASA, apparently.
Well, it's as close as you're going to get to an alien planet without leaving the Earth.
Right. And it makes sense. But
all right, there you go. That's the news. Let's move on to sightings.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just
flying, hovering, and it's
shaped like almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
Two long cylinder objects flying over me.
We had a dome. I could see the occupants in it.
appeared to be rotating, and it was on circular to disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
Alrighty, this is the section of the podcast where we talk about an incident that somebody may have seen something that could be extraterrestrial, like a UFO sighting. That's why we call it the Sightings section. And Anessa, what did you bring to us this week?
I brought a Sphere UFO that was spotted over an Oregon neighborhood. And it was posted by Roger Marsh, November 4th, 2015. So it's fairly recent. And an Oregon witness at Eugene reported watching and photographing a dark sphere UFO just above the tree line on an adjacent property, according to testimony in case 71227 from the Mutual UFO Network. MUFON. Witness database.
I just wanted to, whenever I hear the case number, blah, 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 from the Mutual UFO Network, I want to stand up at attention and salute.
I know. It makes it more official. I think it's got that real official feeling because, so much about what we talk about, it doesn't have a case number, at least not that we're aware of. So it's just very casual. And then suddenly you're like, according to testimony in case number 54782, it just sounds more formal, more authoritative, more legit.
We should give our items case numbers.
So then we sound more legit.
Yeah, I know.
So the witness was looking out a kitchen window facing east when a dark object was first noticed above the tree line over a neighbor's backyard at 9:24 a.m. on October 6th, 2015. I had just enough time to get my camera and caught several lit in-focus images of a dark sphere or something round and dark, the witness stated. I was standing on the sliding glass doorway when I photographed the dark object before it moved behind a tree and I lost sight of the object. The witness filed a case number with MUFON on October 7th and included 3 images. His case is under investigation by Oregon MUFON Assistant State Director Keith Rowell. And then it goes on to talk about Eugene, Oregon. If you guys are interested, it's the second largest city in Oregon and the county seat of Lane County, population 160,552.
There are as many hipsters there as there are in Portland.
Oh, I can imagine. I've been to Eugene before, but it was before the time of hipsterdom. But I was a kid. I'm sure there was a different equivalent. It was just maybe hippies instead. At that point that were still lurking about, and then they morphed into hipsters. But I'm looking at the images 1, 2, and 3, and there's not really. There's a tiny black dot. And if you weren't really searching for it, then you'd be like, oh, that might be just an artifact from the camera or dust on the lens or something. It's really, really small.
You know what I want to do? I want to go ahead. I want to do a video series on YouTube on how to take pictures of UFOs.
We've done a list before that I think was actually put out by MUFON.
Yes, I remember that.
UFO sightings thing that gave you tips on how to photograph unidentified flying objects. And clearly people don't pay attention. I mean, if you don't have a tripod, I get that not everybody runs around with a tripod in their backpack, but they can use a wall, they can use a car, they can use something stable like the table to kind of hold the camera still, your phone still.
Yep. There's ways around a tripod.
Yeah, you don't need to get all fancy. Like if you're in a parking lot, just, put your phone on the car and kind of use it to keep things still.
I almost picked this one last week.
Oh. Yay, you didn't. I usually try
It's
to see
my
if
loss.
I can find the story, like the sighting before I actually post it, and I didn't check this time. So I'm glad you didn't pick this one this
Dodged a
last
bullet,
week.
Moy.
I know, I did. But yeah, Eugene, Oregon. Getting some UFO action out there.
Oh, shoot. Hang on. I'm trying to do things here when I probably shouldn't be doing things here while the podcast is going. Where'd you find this, by the way?
Openminds.tv.
Okay.
Yep, that's where I found it.
Okay. Neat. All right. Is that it? Is that all we got for this? Is this
That's all I got.
all right? Okay. Thank you very much. That means it's time to move on to picks. These are things that we have watched, listened to, read, played, or anything else that we've taken into our senses as something that is related to aliens and extraterrestrials. And I'm going to go first because that's what it says here on our document. I'm first. My pick is Watch the Skies! Exclamation point. Sci-Fi, the 1950s, and Us. And I really, really wish Brad was here because I know about his love for 1950s science fiction films. And both of you guys both have watched a lot of them. And some of the movies that you've seen may have been on this documentary because it was very interesting. Steven Spielberg, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, George Lucas, all big names in Hollywood, right?
Yes.
They're all part of this documentary. They discuss the importance of science fiction films and the influence of the genre. Following the end of World War II, new kinds of enemies appeared, those that could not be seen as such, or not be seen, such as the atom or the fear of the unknown, such as that resulting from the Cold War. Movies became metaphors for those fears, and science fiction films took many forms. They include giant bugs, such as the ants in Them from 1954, or inanimate objects, such as the monolith monsters from 1957, The Incredible Shrinking Man from 1957, The Terror Comes from Everyday Life, a cat, a spider, and the man gets smaller and smaller. Science fiction involving space travel required more imagination. Destination Moon from 1950, and Rocket, I just swore by accident, Rocket XM from 1950 were early attempts at taking a serious look at spaceflight and its implications. Then there were encounters with aliens. That's why I picked this. Some benign, such as Klaatu from the Day the Earth Stood Still, or aggressive aliens. So you can watch this whole thing for absolutely no money whatsoever. It's on YouTube in pieces. It's not the best quality, but it's still, if you're watching it on your computer or your tablet or your phone, it's perfect. I watched it on my TV and it was fine there too. We'll have the link in the show notes to Watch the Skies, Sci-Fi, 1950s, and Us. And I got some really good ideas for some movies I want to see that they mentioned in this documentary.
Sweet.
I've seen Destination Moon, and that was really good. But they said there was another one, the Rocket Ship XM, was also very good. So I'd like to see that next.
I don't think I've seen Rocket Ship. Damn.
Damn.
It's so easy to do. And sometimes you just gotta take a rocket shit. Sorry. Rocket Ship XM I have not seen.
I have to figure something out for the title involving that. There was another one involving aliens, and it's not mentioned in this description, and I forget the name of it, but it's a story that involves kids, and their parents somehow get like infected with aliens, and it's very much about what was the description? It was a metaphor for something. Oh, I think like how family dynamics and the family structure was changing.
Okay.
And I thought that was very, very interesting. And at the end, it's only a dream that this is all happening, but then it starts happening again. And they compare it to like a Groundhog Day of a 1950s sci-fi film. There's a scene that they showed from this film that you would recognize. Like it's often used as the example of 1950s sci-fi. It's like a kid that looks out a window and says something. I forget what he says, but it's got a very interesting look, and I'm pretty sure that you would recognize it if you saw a scene from that movie that I'm talking about.
Oh,
You'll
probably.
You'll just have to watch this documentary, Anessa.
Yeah, it actually sounds really cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
We'll put the show notes. We'll put the link in the show notes, and you all can check it out. And we would love to hear what you think of it. Email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com or call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966. Okay, Anessa, what is your pick this week?
My pick is The Cattle Files.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, I'll read the description. This riveting documentary examines the deaths of 10,000 cattle in Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado over the past 25 years, speculating that an alien force may be responsible for these bizarre killings. It was actually kind of gross, but also interesting because it kept showing this mutilated livestock. And eventually, especially towards like the last half, they didn't really talk much about Texas. The focus was primarily Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico and Colorado. That was where more of the focus was. And well, maybe not Arizona, but definitely New Mexico and Colorado and Nevada. And the part that I thought was really interesting was that and I haven't had a chance to look it up, but they had made claims that each of these states are well known for having done nuclear testing. And especially Nevada, I suppose, and New Mexico. But anyway, they're claiming that Colorado and New Mexico are both downwind, and the purpose for the cattle mutilation, and they talked about the extraterrestrial aspect of it, how it's potentially people from outer space, but their focus was more on, especially toward the last bit, was more of it could be a human aspect. It could be humans doing this and trying to make it seem like it's out of the like aliens from outer space that are doing this. And their thing was that, and they made the claim that they made was that it was illegal to take samples, I guess, specimen samples from the cattle in these states to see how much radiation they contained. And rather than just let it go, they still wanted to take random samples from different locations to see if there's any radiation in them, how it affects them, if there is, from these nuclear tests before. And so that's the reason behind cattle mutilations.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so since they couldn't do it legally and they still wanted to do it to find out what's going on, they went about it illegally. So
that makes sense.
I mean, it does. And I thought that was actually a really interesting idea. And like I said, they did talk about the aliens doing their tests and whatever else, but I just found that last bit so intriguing. That, because we can't legally, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why they couldn't just say, "Hey, Farmer Bob, would you mind if we do some biopsies on a couple of your cows or something?" But yeah, it was pretty intense with some of the imagery. You had cows that had been, I guess, exsanguinated, like they had no blood. But the big thing was, it would remove like different organs and tissues and stuff. And they said that it would make sense that they would remove, say, the brain or the reproductive organs or maybe the liver, to test to see what, not necessarily bacteria, but especially with the liver, like what toxins are inside, and just see how it's affected, if it's been affected by any radiation that may be still lingering from the nuclear tests that they had done way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. People are more than welcome to watch it. If you've got, like, people are more than welcome to watch it. If you are of the squeamish variety, I would recommend maybe not eating it with pasta, or watching it while eating pasta, maybe.
That will remind you of the
or eating a hamburger. I don't know. Some people can watch gory things and eat with no issues. Other people cannot. I am typically of the variety that can eat whatever the heck I want while watching anything gory.
You're lucky.
I don't know what that says about me as a person.
It means you have no soul.
Yeah, I pretty much. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, just keep that in mind whenever you watch it. I thought it was really interesting. It is an older documentary from, I would say, the late 90s. It has Nick Pope, which is no surprise, but of course it has Nick Pope. He is in this documentary, and he doesn't have a whole lot of gray hair yet, so he's much, much younger. And he's only in there briefly. They focus on other individuals and experts and law enforcement people that have gotten the calls to go check out mutilated cattle and whatnot. So I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting to watch. And I do actually recommend people to give it a watch if they want to learn more about cattle mutilation and the various theories to what's behind it.
So Nick Pope hadn't reached his maximum Nick Popeness yet?
No. he hadn't quite reached it yet. But yeah, it's kind of gross. It was 45 minutes long, so not incredibly long.
Nice and sweet.
Short and sweet, yep. And I came across it on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, give that a go. I was actually looking at watching something else, and it was just in one of these, you may also like sections. And I'm like, let me see what this is about. I'll give this a watch. And I like the imagery because it's got like a flying saucer with the light beaming down, and you've got like the cow being beamed up to the saucer.
I think I've seen that image before, like on Google image search.
Oh, probably.
Something that shows up when I type every week when I type in alien or extraterrestrial or UFO.
You get the cattle files.
Yeah. All right, cool. The cattle files. Also, we had Watch the Skies, Sci-Fi, the 1950s, and Us. Those are our two picks this week. And Brad's is just sitting there. Can't wait. It's been sitting there here in the dock for like 3 weeks now.
2-3 weeks.
Next to his name. I want to say what it is so bad. But I won't. I'll wait for Brad to get better so he can reveal it himself.
If he remembers,
yeah.
He's probably forgotten.
I remember watching this. Yeah. Okay, so that is pretty much going to do it for this episode of the Alien Invasion podcast. Couple of things before we go. Of course, we've mentioned the contact number for phone number, and email address. I'll mention it again. The email address is galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. You can call our voicemail number, which is 805-328-3966, 805-328-3966. You can find more podcast goodness like the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, Podcast of Terror, which we mentioned earlier, Weird World Weekly, Adventure Party, Who Knew and Reviews, and Galactic Gaming News. You can find all those podcasts at our website, gncasts.com. Click on subscribe, and the links to all those will be there, including the Alien Invasion, or you can just search for Alien Invasion on iTunes, Stitcher, or any other podcast place that you get your podcast from. It's free, of course. Don't have to pay any money. But if you do want to contribute to the cause, we have things that we need paid for, like hosting, audio hosting, or web hosting, or advertising. We have a thing called the Galactic Collective. You can become a member of the Galactic Collective by giving at least $1 a month. Recurring donation, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Anyways, you can find out more about the Galactic Collective at our website, gncasts.com. All right, before we get out of here, what is your final thought, Anessa? Do you have two this week? Do you have one for you and Brad?
I don't. My final thought just went right back to rocket shit. Sorry.
I'm going to be doing a lot of beeping on this one.
Well, at least it's centralized.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of know where it happened too, just from the article or the thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, and that should make it a lot easier because you'll have an idea where it is in the show. But
I'm sure I'll come up with some kind of title around that name somehow.
Yes, it's time for takeoff.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been the Alien Invasion Podcast, a production of Galactic Netcasts. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, we'll talk to you then.
Bye.
All right. Hang on. Let me end the broadcast.